Alright guys, hi everyone, hope you're doing okay. So we've reached week 10. This is the first step in your creating your film, Previz. This step is called the Previz 3D layout. So what we're going to be doing, what I'm going to show you today is how to deal with the environment, with the characters, moving the characters in T-pose, cameras. Camera is a big thing. This is the most amount of work in this assignment because you're going to be dealing with framing, composition of your characters in relation to the environment, and all your story beats as well. So this is probably the most time you're going to spend with the cameras. Also, because we're animating the characters in T-pose moving around, I need you to add text as well to each shot. I'll be showing you how to do that in Motionbuilder. Before I jump in Motionbuilder, I'd like you, if you have time, please check out this video. It's called "What the Heck is a CG Layout?" Which is a 3D layout anyway. So go on YouTube, search for this, type this, and you will see the difference between a storyboard, a 3D layout, an animation, which is what you're going to be doing the following week, which is putting all the motion clips together, and the final with polish and everything using Motionbuilder. So right now we're at this stage. We skipped the storyboards because we're running short of time, right? But essentially, you can do those two together because you're working in 3D and you're working with all the cameras in your layout at the same time. So we can skip this part. A lot of the studios do the storyboard to get kind of the shots there, but we can do it at the same time. So watch this video, it's only 6 minutes long. If you're not familiar too much with cameras, I highly suggest going in that channel as well, go in the videos. And he describes a couple of other camera types, like a POV shot, over the shoulder, the push-in, stuff like that. So watch these videos. They're not that long. They're about 6, 7, some of them 8 minutes. They're really going deep. When to use the different camera shots, different type of cameras. It's a really good camera channel for camera work if you have the time. Okay, so what are we gonna do in this week? What's the required stuff? So I'll be using the same setup I did in week 4, I believe. The story mode part 2, sorry, week 5. It's the stuff we built with Venom and Erica. I'll be using that as a base and just re-explaining what you have to pay attention to. So if you guys remember, we downloaded this environment from Sketchfab. We made the null to be able to move the layout. If you remember, we added the null on top of all the pieces of the environment. So now we're able to move it or scale it if needed. And we added Venom, the Venom characters, right? Venom and Erica. Okay. I turned off story mode because we're not going to be using story mode that much in this assignment. We'll be moving these two characters with the control rig. Okay. Before we do this, though, I want to go back and talk about scale. Okay. So scale. Let's say you downloaded Erica from Mixamo, and she's too big or too small for the environment. So you have two choices. Or either you scale up or down the environment, or you need to scale her up or down. So scaling a character for the proper scale in at this stage, you need to do it in Maya. The reason is if you scale it in Motionbuilder and then you apply mocap from Mixamo, there's a high chance that the mocap is not gonna work properly and it's gonna slide because you scaled it in Motionbuilder, but the mocap coming in from Mixamo is at a different scale. So please, if you need to scale the character to fit the environment, open the FBX you download from Mixamo in Maya, delete the bones, uh, scale the mesh, freeze the transform, and re-upload. It's the same steps we did in week 2. So if you don't like the scale, you want to redo the scale, watch week 2 and you will be good to go. Another thing for scale, if you're planning on animating the scale of that character, for example, Venom, if you decide in one of the shots he becomes a big 10-foot creature and you're scaling him because he took a magic pill or whatever it was, you will need to add that node. If you remember, uh, when we download the Mixamo rig and the scale is good, you need to add one null on top of the Mixamo rig and add it in the character definition. Okay, why? Because when you're ready to animate the scale, let's turn on the control rig. This is the bone or the control bone that you can use to animate the scale. See? So you key it, you turn on in key control. Right now by default it's set to TR, which is translation rotation. And you go and switch it to TRS for translation rotation scale. You key the default size or height, and then you go to whatever frame and then you scale this node. Okay, then you put another key. So what happens now, you're animating the scale of the character. That's how you do it. So two things for the scale: figure out the scale of each character using Maya, if they're too big or too small, or scale down or up the environment using the null that you create. And if you have to deal with animating the scale on one of the shots, you'll need to add the null node per character. Okay, that's it for the scale. So we talked about, again, please, if you don't remember the steps, watch week 5 video, and everything will be coming back for you, how to set up the layout, the characters, and the camera. I'll go over the camera a little bit. So just remember, when you create a camera, the camera has a camera and a target always. You can rename it here, but make sure you choose picture format HD, okay? Because that will give you the good resolution, okay? 1920 by 1080. So figure out the resolution and then click save as default. So now every time you create a camera, it will keep those information there. I highly recommend rewatching that video from week 5, so you get a refresher on what we did back then. I'll delete the new camera. Okay. So just to save time, so I don't redo what I did during that week, I'll be using the same layout. and the same camera work. And I'm just going to show you what I do with Venom and Erica. Okay, how to deal with their translation on the screen. So Venom is already ready to go. I can translate him, move him around the scene. I'm gonna choose this one and release all pinning. This way I can move him around using the hip. Please don't animate with this. Animate by moving the hips. I choose to rotate the shoulders a bit down instead of that big T-pose because it takes up a lot of space on the camera. And I'll move him all the way up to the ledge. If you guys remember, he started walking on the ledge. Right, somewhere like this, make him flat. And then rotate him. So where do I want to start keying? So I'll scrub. So again, this is your working perspective, producer perspective, and this is your camera switcher. You want to see where each shot has changed, you know, where the camera cuts are. Okay, so we can, as soon as we start seeing the tip of the head, we can key there. We can key a position here. And then as he's moving, we can start moving him all the way up to probably close to the end of the shot. Somewhere here he drops down. So maybe move him all the way up to here. So we can see him kind of moving on both shots, right? So we scrub, he starts moving, chasing Erica, and then at some point he jumps down and he lands in here. It's good. Let's move on to Erica. So if we switch to Erica, turn on her control rig. So she should be ready to go as well. Yeah. I'll bring down the shoulders. Don't worry if you move the camera switcher by mistake, just scrub through and it will update. You're not actually animating the camera. So I'll move her shoulders down and I'll move her to the street level right under Mr. Venom. Okay, so she's going to be a little bit ahead of him, right? So we're probably going to key her somewhere around here. So she starts moving around here. I'll make her face the other way. She's being chased down the street. And then she's gonna stop. So this is the last shot with the close-up on Venom, right? But she's gonna get knocked down somewhere around here, right? So I'll move her here. I'll move her closer to the cam just to get like a kind of a more dramatic effect. So she gets knocked down towards the camera. Okay. See what that looks like. So yeah, chase. And then he lands on her. Okay. So now we can animate Venom jumping down. So let's say let's say at this point maybe he jumps on, so I'm gonna move back the key a little bit and then make him start jumping down here, let's say. Okay. Again, it's optional if you guys want to pose the character. You can keep him in this pose and move them like this, but sometimes I like just to have fun and give him like a really basic pose, like, you know, like they did in, if you noticed, in if you noticed, see here, they give them basic poses. Even at some parts, if you, when you're looking at the video, they have some basic poses on Sully and forget his name. So you can, if you have time and you want to have fun with it, you can go for it. So I'll key it here and I'll move the legs. Just looks like a jump pose, right? And I'll take the arms. Just super quick, right? It's nothing fancy. At least you can see that. You can see that he's gonna attack her. So you can switch, if the whole body is moving, when you move the chest, you can switch to this one or body part. So you can move the chest independently. The arms are going sideways, so we could just fix it. You can move the legs too for more open pose for his legs, more dramatic. Highly recommend using reference, so don't animate pose from scratch. If you guys remember the keyframe assignment, always use video reference, whether yourself or something on YouTube that you find. Okay, so he's jumping down and then he's probably gonna land on her somewhere here. So we'll take the same pose, go in this one so we can move freely. And then simple rotation forward to make sure that he lands on her with his arms. So as you can see, rotation, if I rotate it this way, he's gonna rotate weirdly that way. So you can use, if you guys remember, the local pivot. So now the local pivot of the pelvis is facing the right way. So now you can rotate him comme ça to knock her down. Okay, so she's gonna collapse as well at this point. So we'll switch to Erica. And we'll switch to Erica and animate her getting knocked down. Okay, so she's running and then she's probably going to collapse around here. Again, same thing. If you click rotate, see, rotation is that way. You can, oh wait, sorry. Oh, weird. Why is it facing? Oh, okay, good. No, it's okay. Because her hips are still facing that way. So now if I rotate this way, and I rotate her down all the way flat, and move her, what's going to happen is, yeah, she gets knocked down. So we can move her out of the cam, doesn't matter, because you don't see her on the ground. Again, animate to camera, always to camera. So stuff you don't see, limbs you don't see, you don't need to worry about. That's why this stage is crucial, because you're figuring out all your character shots and how they relate to the camera. So if something you don't see on screen, on camera, you don't need to animate it. And the last pose we're going to do is for Venom, with him probably crouching in this shot. Okay. Again, super basic pose. I'd have to move him back a little bit for a more dramatic effect so we can see his body crouching down. Okay, pull up one leg and move it outside. It's fine, I think the other leg is fine. I'll switch to this guy or body part. I'll switch to this so I can rotate the hips, or the spine I should say. And again, don't animate from scratch, always use reference. I'm just trying to draw from memory and save some time. Bring down the arms. It's always better to pose in the perspective view because you get a better sense of 3D space. Otherwise, you're kind of guessing where the arms are. So now we can lock the position of the hand and just fix the elbow because the elbow is really kind of bent weirdly. I think that's fine. I'll just fix the leg a little bit. Again, we're not focusing too much on character at this stage. Just trying to figure out the camera composition and framing. Let's see what that looks like. Pan down, chase, boom. Yeah, it's a little fast on the jump down. So if you want to tweak it, you can just tweak it by moving the keys. You know how. It's not bad actually, it's not bad. I'll keep it like this. Again, just a reminder, so this is my 4-second film, 4 seconds. You guys, you have your script, you need to build 30 to 60 seconds. So just keep that in mind. Do not repeat what I'm doing now. This is, you should be building what you sent me a couple of weeks ago with the script. Okay, just to be clear. I'm gonna save this week 10 3D layout. I'll save it as 2. I had a previous version before I was testing some stuff. So now it's pretty clear. The camera is there, everything is there. The problem is if you don't give me enough poses, it's going to be hard for me to know what's going on, even if when I read your script, because your script was a one-pager and is describing in broad what's going to happen. So what I need you to do after before you submit the render, because you're going to be submitting an MPEG-4. Oops. This one, week 10, MPEG. I need you to add text per shot. Okay. How do we do this? So in my Previz, I have 3 cameras. So I need you to add text for each camera. Okay. How do we do this? We first switch to the camera themselves in here. Whoops, not in here. So click on, see the white line here changes, right? So now this is selected. I'll keep this in camera switcher, and I'll click on this one and change it to camera 1. So now it's camera 1, camera switcher, camera 1. So in here, I'm ready to add the text. How do we do this? We go in Asset Browser, Templates, Elements, and there's a thing called HUD. Okay. All you have to do is drag and drop, add to current camera. Please choose this option because it's going to become child of the camera. So if you move the camera for whatever reason, updates, it will be following the camera. So add to current camera. And if you look in Navigator, camera section, camera 1, because that's what we just added, there's a HUD element now, a link to it, child of it. So all you need to do is go new, double click on it, right? Just like you double click on camera, double click on HUD, new, change this default state to text and click create. You will see text here pop up. So all you need to do is add what happens in that shot. Okay, so camera pans down, showing Venom chasing Erica. Good. So that's all you have to do. See, now if you scrub, oh, if this happens, by the way, okay, if this happens, then you won't be able to add another HUD. Just switch tab. Looks like a refresh bug from 2022. Just switch tabs for a minute and come back, and everything's back to normal. Okay. So now if I'm scrubbing, when we switch to camera 2 in the camera switcher, the text disappears, but it stays here because we're still in camera 1. So this is what we see in camera 2. So now we're ready to add it in camera 2. It's the same technique. I click here in this viewport, perspective, perspective, camera 2, and I drag and drop the HUD, and it's the same. New, text, create. And what happens in this shot is he jumps down and knocks down Eric. Venom jumps down and knocks out Erica. That's it. So you do the same thing with the third shot. You select your camera switcher, you go File, Render, 0 to whatever last frame you have. It's going to be around, whatever, 30 to 60 seconds. Make sure you put 1 here for each frame. Everything else should be default, should work as is. Choose MPEG-4 and the folder, where do you want it? In this case, it's week 10 3D layout, MPEG-4, and render. You can choose high or best, both are good, and make sure you have H.264. That's the best codec for this stuff. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Week 10 3D layout. There you go. That's it. There's no text at the end because we didn't add, but please add text for each shot, so I know what's going on in each shot. That's it. Render, upload. Again, don't repeat the assets that I used in this class. This is your own. Take the script and start breaking it down with this method, the 3D layout. Before we go, I want to share you some more samples other than the Mixamo stuff if you don't find what you need on Mixamo. Okay, so if you go in here, I haven't uploaded the video lecture yet. It should be up after I finish the recording. If you go in here, there's Motionbuilder samples. So Motionbuilder old versions, they used to come with some more sample files. So if you click on this link, it will take you to a Google Drive, and you can download a clipart.zip file. It's about 300 megabytes, so it's gonna take a while depending on your internet connection. So when you finish downloading, you put it in downloads and you unzip it, clipart.zip. If you open that folder, you will see a bunch of folders in it. So you have characters, elements, there's some props in there, in here, extra motion capture stuff. There's a lot of FBX files here. Okay, so I'll show you what all these contain super quick now in Motionbuilder. The nice thing about this samples folder, if you copy the path, Control C, and you go in Motionbuilder and you do a new scene, if you, in the asset browser, if you right click any folder or any empty space, add favorite path, and you paste that folder, it will show up in here. And what you can do is, if you select the character folder, it will give you a thumbnail of kind of what's in that file. Some of them anyway, not all of them. So you have Pepe, the one we used last assignment, and you have a couple other ones. This one is cool. It's one of my favorites. If you go open, or no animation. It's really cool. There's a nice robot. There's a dog. I won't recommend animating dogs. It takes a long time. There's a gremlin. There's an alien. So check it out before if you don't find stuff on, it might be useful for your film. Be careful though, some of them do not come with that node. So see here, like Willard is not set up with the null. So you're gonna need to set it up properly in the character definition. Most of the body parts are set up. It's just this one. If you decide to animate the scale up and down, that's what you do. Also, if you're gonna use any one of these characters, you're gonna need to send it to Mixamo first and download the animation using this character. Okay. You cannot just drag and drop from Mixamo, and you will get retargeting problems, all kinds of issues. So just a disclaimer about these characters. What else? So in elements, primitive, there's not really that much other than it's the same stuff in the primitives folder. If you go on props, there's a couple of interesting props. There's like a nightstand, a guitar, a couch. You just drag and drop, merge, no animation. And it's already set up kind of. If you move the parent node, see, it's already set up ready to animate or place in the environment. Excuse me. In motions, there's a whole bunch of mocap. Same thing from Mixamo. They're ready to be used on these characters. Okay. Again, you can use them as is. So if I insert Willard and I just drag and drop any one of these, it works. Be careful, some of these characters, the source comes on stance. You just need to switch it to none to be able to see any mocap in story mode. So as you can see like the arms kind of are weirdly placed, but and they're floating here because this animation, if you open it, was done on a different character. Open all takes. Actually, it's no character, it's just a control rig. If I hide the story mode, why is he not playing? Is it because it's on the control rig? No. Oh, because I'm on take one and there's nothing left. Okay. So see, see, it's much better contacts here because this the same scale, like the same height of the actor who was shot with. It was floating a lot with Willard because of the contacts, because of the arms are way longer. So you probably have to do some retargeting. Remember the retargeting with Pepe last week and animating the different controls so that if you want a better quality, but they could still work. So you have a whole bunch here, like these three folders are all motion capture. So if you go on motions and type throw, let's say, if it comes up, nope, there's nothing. So let's say run or walk. See, you're gonna get different behaviors. Walk backward, walk downstairs, upstairs, stuff like that. So you can know what contains in these folders. Poses, don't worry about. Samples, there's some cool stuff in samples. If we have time at the end of the semester, last class, can show you some cool stuff. These are a bit more advanced, like the animation triggers, a few stuff in story mode, stuff like that. In sets, in here you have 5 different environments. So you have a Dark City, which is kind of a very gloomy like cityscape. If it fits in your Previz. There's a schoolyard and underground parking. Check them out. Just open them up, download the zip, and just check them out. If it fits with you, it fits. The last one is the super interesting one I'd like you to look at. That's probably why, because I'm suggesting this, because there's a lot of cool particles in the last folder, the shaders. So if you open any one of these, open up or merge it inside your scene. Obviously, the particles you don't need to use it until polish, until the end, until the last assignment, this one. But I'm showing you what they contain now, since we're talking about it. So bubbles. So if you open this, it's the same stuff we talked about last week. So the particle shader is linked to a node. So if you move the node, it will move the particles. You can actually animate this. If you key it here and then you move it here, and then you press play, see, they move with it. So you can open this up and in shaders, bubble particles, and you can do anything you want with it. You can change the size, you can change the color, See, just to get a different effect. So use this as a base and just change it. There's even a cloud. I know some people have like a battle scene or something like that. You can use this to move it to as a base and just change the view values. Just like he used the sphere to generate the particles, so you can move the sphere below and just it will update eventually after a bit. Yeah. So that's it. Check it out if you have time, and use stuff if you want to use from it, but just be careful about those things we talked about. Cool. Just to wrap it up, so environment, all the characters with the proper scale. You need to figure out the scale now. Don't forget, if you're animating the scale, just add that null we talked about. Cameras, that's all you're going to work with this week. That's the highest priority to figure out your framing and composition. And last, add text using the HUD element per shot. Render and upload an MPEG-4, please. And don't forget, 30 to 60 seconds. That's your film. Cool. All right, guys. I'll see you Wednesday. Thanks. Bye.